Charting Toward Intimacy covers mature topics. Listener discretion is advised.
What happened to my libido? This is the number one question that I receive from Catholic wives when it comes to sex and intimacy. And so in this episode, we are going to talk about how to actually desire sex. Welcome to Charting Toward Intimacy, the podcast for Catholic women that helps you improve your sex life, strengthen your marriage, and embrace God's design for love. My name is Ellen Holloway, and let's get into it. First off, this is not an episode about trying harder. If you have been told that you just need to initiate more, that you just need to make time for it, you just need to lower your standards, you just need to try more, I'm not going to talk about any of those things because, look, the real point here is you don't want sex and you're tired of pretending that you should want sex. Wanting sex isn't about effort and it's not about obligation. Desire is something that we need to actually understand. And then once we understand it, we can rebuild desire for sex in our marriages. Look, if wanting sex was a willpower issue, this wouldn't be an issue anymore. We women have incredible willpower. We can do anything. And so if it had to do with willpower, we wouldn't have this problem. The biggest lie about desire is that desire is supposed to be spontaneous. This is the biggest lie that I run into. You know, the thought of if it doesn't come naturally, something's wrong with me. It's extremely common for women to experience responsive desire. Responsive desire is desire that follows input, typically physical stimulus. So desire for sex grows out of really kind of starting to have sex. Desire for sex also follows safety, connection, and pleasure. It is super common for life stages, for stress, for motherhood, for burnout, for things like that to fluctuate our desire for sex. The important thing is here that we actually understand where desire for sex comes from so that when our desire for sex fluctuates, we can actually do something about it. All right, so let's talk about the real reason why you don't want sex right now. I want you to identify what is blocking your desire. There is something that is blocking your desire. I'm going to walk through a couple of common desire blocks. And I just want you to listen to this. We're just going to go super high level overview, but one of them is going to stick out to you. Maybe two are going to stick out to you as like, oh, that's it. That's my desire block. And I want you to just identify which one of these is blocking your desire. So the first one is emotional disconnection. Sex feels unsafe or it feels disconnected. Maybe there's conflict around sex or resentment around sex. The second one is burnout and exhaustion. Your body is in survival mode and you just don't even feel like there is room to think about sex, let alone desire it. The third one I want to talk about is guilt and shame. Okay, this is when we have internalized beliefs that wanting sex and enjoying sex is selfish, or it's too much, or it's somehow sinful. The fourth one I want to talk about is overtrying. This is when sex feels like pressure. When you feel like you need to perform, you need to do it well. Sex feels like another task that you need to do well and you need to, if you're one of those people who got like all A's in school, like you need to get an A on sex and you're not getting an A on sex and it feels like you're failing at sex. And the fifth desire block that I want to talk about is disconnection from your body. So if during sex you just feel numb, maybe there's just a lack of feeling, you're not really physically aware during sex, maybe there's a lot of tension in your body and you just feel like there's no way to experience pleasure. So I think something key to think about here is that low desire for sex is your body's way of saying that something needs care. It is not your body saying that something is broken. Okay, low desire does not mean that you are broken. It means that we need to give care to some aspect. Now, let's talk about obligation and obligation sex and why obligation absolutely kills desire. Duty-based sex trains the nervous system to resist. If sex is a checkbox that you have to check off, your body is going to close. There is a big difference between choosing to generously give yourself as a gift to your husband and forcing yourself to do something that you really don't want to do. There's like a chasm between those two things. Marital sex is meant to be, it's designed to be unitive and procreative. It is designed to be mutual. It is not designed to be endured. It is not designed to be expected. It is not designed to be required. It is almost impossible to build desire in a system where your body learns that sex means pressure. So we need to remove all obligation here. So let's talk about what actually builds desire then. There are 3 main pillars here that are going to build desire. The first one is safety. Sex is an incredibly vulnerable act, incredibly vulnerable. Emotional safety, physical comfort, and the freedom to say no to sex are what really build this feeling of safety. And this feeling of safety is absolutely required for you to have any desire for sex. The second pillar is pleasure. Sex that feels good for you is sex that you're going to desire. If sex sucks, it makes sense that you don't desire it, right? If you don't like cleaning the bathroom, are you going to desire to clean the bathroom? Probably not, right? We desire things that we actually enjoy. Eating a piece of chocolate cake. You actually desire to eat that piece of chocolate cake because it is delicious and we enjoy it, right? So we need to make sure that sex is actually enjoyable, it's actually pleasurable. We need to make sure there's no pain. And then we also need to hone in on enjoying sex and what is it that allows your body to receive sexual pleasure and receive an orgasm. The third pillar I want to talk about is permission. This is where those of us who have a lot of that purity culture influence really need to work on. This is giving yourself permission, allowing yourself to want sex, allowing yourself to enjoy sex, and allowing yourself to prioritize sex. This is very, very difficult. And this is a huge, huge pillar that a lot of Catholic women need to work on, is giving yourself that permission, recognizing, right, that sex is good and holy. That's like step 1. And then we have to give ourselves permission to enjoy sex because that purity culture really wrapped up all the enjoyment of sex into this being a bad and dirty thing. So give yourself that permission. Desire grows after positive experiences. So I want to make sure that you understand that if you want to build your desire, you can't wait until desire just magically shows up. We need to actually work on making sex amazing and learning and growing in sex and making it pleasurable and work on the safety around sex, work on a relationship and our emotional closeness with our husband so that sex then becomes something that we do naturally desire. So don't wait to want sex before improving sex. If you don't like sex right now, if you don't want sex right now, this is an excellent time to start improving your sex life. Good sex creates desire. Desire does not magically create good sex. All right, so I want you to identify, go back in the episode if you need to, and go back to when I was talking about those desire blocks. I want you to identify what your primary desire block is. And I want you to then look at your relationship or look at that desire block and what can you change, modify, improve in your marriage and in your life to work on that desire block. And just a real quick refresher here. The desire blocks are emotional disconnection, burnout and exhaustion, guilt and shame, overtrying, and disconnection from your body. You can learn to want and enjoy sex again. I know that you can. And I'm here to help you do that. In just a few short weeks, I am going to be announcing my brand new program that is going to help you learn how to actually desire sex. I am so excited about it. So stick around as I'm going to be sharing more details about that later on in the month. And I'm so excited about this, you guys. I cannot wait. Thanks so much for listening. If you have ever gotten any value from this podcast, could you do me a favor really quick? Go into the podcast app that you are listening in. And if it gives you an option to rate and review, please rate and review this podcast. It helps us so much in reaching new listeners and spreading the word about this podcast. Thanks so much for listening.